Welcome to Core Principles of Contemporary Dance. My name's Tiahnna Yasmin Richards, also known as Tia, and this is my self-made video presentation. Hello, my name is Tiahnna Yasmin Richards, and this is my Core Principles of Contemporary Dance video presentation, which explores different eras and historical contexts of contemporary dance. So this video presentation will cover a range of topics, including pioneers of contemporary dance, personal progression, different forms of contemporary dance, contemporary dance films that you can access, and how to get further information on contemporary dance. It specifically focuses on the historical context of contemporary dance. Commonly known pioneers of contemporary dance include Merce Cunningham, Martha Graham and Doris Humphrey. And they're really early pioneers, but there are much more pioneers outside of those three. This presentation will also include my personal progression, what I did during my BA Honours degree in dance, different forms of contemporary dance film and further information. Merce Cunningham was an American dancer and choreographer who was at the forefront of modern dance for more than 50 years and won 5 highly renowned awards. His innovation had a profound impact on the contemporary dance world, such as the idea that a dance and its music should not necessarily go together, discarding traditions of narrative and form. So Cunningham's career background involves him starting off with tap dance. He grew up dancing as a child. That really gave him his strong sense of musicality, which would show his future dance pieces. However, he ended up leaving the contemporary aspects of tap and moving more into the contemporary aspects of modern dance. So he became a teacher and a choreographer, and this is when he started collaborating with John Cage, which was a musical director who he used. Many of his methods involve things like scores, chance method, where you kind of make decisions through random allocation and you kind of see what happens. And this chance method is a method that is commonly used. I've used myself. So for example, you could pull names of dancers out of a hat or randomly choose which directions they're standing in or how they're positioned on the stage. It's a very spontaneous way of approaching making choreography. So the second paragraph in this really kind of describes what I was saying in the previous page about that random allocation and describes it in a little bit more detail. So you can read that yourself. But moving on to the third paragraph, he used non-representational choreography, which simply emphasized movement and did not necessarily represent any historical, narrative, emotional situation or idea. And there's also a YouTube link there as well, which explores this further. I'll put that in the description under this video so that you can access that as well. So we can think about controlled leg work, freedom in the spine, the foot techniques of ballet, sense of spontaneity and unpredictability, a little bit of Graham technique. It really kind of involves a lot of different things. Cunningham technique is further explored in the link provided in the video description as well. And it's quite famously done. I mean, you can find videos, you can order videos, you can find videos on YouTube of Cunningham technique. It's a very commonly used technique, and contraction and release really form the main elements of the technique. So moving on to Graham, this is another really well-known, famous contemporary pioneer, and second generation pioneer, following her forerunners Isadora Duncan and Ted Shawn. So her career background really involves everything from her growing up dancing herself. She worked with making iconic imagery. She's often been labelled the Picasso of dance. and she's very interesting as a pioneer. So Martha Graham has many different impacts, as she said, in the dance industry that we'll explore in the further pages. So she created her own school, Martha Graham Centre of Contemporary Dance. This involved daily class, including floor work, standing exercise, travelling combinations, spirals and floor, falls. The students would work on the floor for 30 to 40 minutes, performing kneeling combinations and contractions that emphasise core utilisation, coordination of the limbs and articulation of the spine, torso and head. So again, a lot of her work, it's definitely available on YouTube. Just type in Graham technique, you'll find plenty of videos, plenty of online classes out there. Her technique is still used now. And she also incorporated travelling combinations, complex jumps, leaps and turns. Use of fall and recovery is commonly explored in her spiralling and falling sequences. Again, here we've got a little bit more about her technique, her use of breath, the way that she uses the torso, defying gravity, the way that ballet influences her, the use of flexed feet and angular lines and fluid movements and different dynamics. And again, another video link that enables you to have a look at that Graham technique. So Doris Humphreys, another very well-known early pioneer. She began choreographing at a young age, and fall and recovery is commonly used in contemporary dance. So again, you start to see some overlap here between the pioneers, where one pioneer may have been influenced by another. Doris Humphrey may have used Graham's use of fall and recovery, but she might have a different approach to it than what Graham has. It's actually more likely that Graham was influenced by Doris, because Doris was actually born beforehand. It's interesting that her career background when she was training involved gymnastics, ballroom and ballet. So it didn't really involve contemporary dance, but when she pioneered her own techniques, that's what she did. And there's also some links to her work as well. So impact she's had in the industry, she's had a massive impact on the industry because her techniques are used all the time. They're used all the time, and she had a massive impact on Graham as well. I believe that, Graham was definitely influenced by Humphrey. Like I said, Humphrey existed beforehand. And so fundamentally, her techniques are definitely seen today in the industry. So here's another little bit about Humphrey technique, shifting weight from the center, equal body adjustment, counterbalance to prevent falls, dramaturgy of movement, tension and release of the muscles, height of suspension and tension, succession, unison and opposition. Succession consists of sustained flow, unison of rest and opposition, sharp accents. Humphrey codified these techniques in her book, The Art of Making Dances, in 1958, and then there's some further videos on her techniques. So here's a little bit of input on my personal progression. So I began contemporary dance training in 2015, which is a really long time ago. Obviously, we're in 2022 now. An external placement called Adada in Derby University, where I did an Arts Award Leadership Challenge, which involved me reaching an Arts Award goal, set myself an Arts Award challenge, to be able to perform a handstand, improve my core strength and engage in weight-bearing floor work, which I achieved. I also did some leadership and some volunteer work experience, teaching, lesson planning, safeguarding, teacher training, etc. It was a vast amount of things that I did, and there's just some little photos of my technical progression. So here you can just see the progression. The first photo appears to be a little bit stronger than the second because my legs are closer to being over my pelvis. I'm assuming this is like the first couple of attempts of me doing a handstand, and if you read what I'm saying, I clearly understand the anatomical things in relation to what the bones and muscles should be doing. And so this is like a very early photo, quite a long time ago. So these photos were taken when I did my high national diploma in dance. Some of them were of me performing jazz techniques as opposed to contemporary ones, but I think this piece was actually a fusion of jazz and contemporary. It's done a very long time ago. Here's some further imagery of contact improvisation, choreography, and mirroring with a partner. Here's some further, just like a little mini clip of, well, it's a screenshot of a mini clip of some trio work that I did. So I choreographed a trio. A little bit more information is on my CV of all the work I choreographed. I believe this was on the 3 States of Mind, and received an A star upon doing my HND. Okay, so this appears to just be a little duet. Again, if you read what I'm saying, I clearly understand things in relation to momentum, energy transfer, and the sorts of law of anatomy. I believe here this is actually a fusion duet, so we've taken elements of Latin dance technique and elements of contemporary technique, so it's really a fusion piece where we combine the two. So in this video you can clearly see this is just me preparing for an assessment. It's a contemporary assessment and the focus really appears to be alignment and transfer of weight. So moving away from the BTEC, I then transitioned on to a BA Honours degree in dance, which mainly focused on contemporary practice, including choreographic processes and methods, meaning making and representation, safeguarding and contemporary dance practice, contemporary technique and anatomy, pioneering your own techniques, which I've done in creating lesson plans for my teacher training, promoting social change through dance, such as green spaces, global warming, things of that nature, teacher training, further theory of contemporary dance, independent artists, contemporary in higher education, contemporary in community contexts, and much more explored through my online dance education blog, which literally has more than 20 different articles in relation to dance related subjects. So there are multiple forms of contemporary dance. So other than Graham, Cunningham and Humphrey technique, which have already been broadly explored, there's lyrical dance, which blends aspects of contemporary ballet and sometimes modern dance, contact improvisation, which you saw in some of the videos of me and a fellow student on my HND. There's improvisation. Jonathan Burrows explores improvisational methods such as scores and tasks. There's many different pioneers, Richard Alston, David Zambrino, who's a pioneer of flying low technique. There's lots of fusion out there, such as contemporary jazz or incorporating martial arts into contemporary dance. I'm even starting to see people incorporating break dance into contemporary dance as well, where they might take Cunningham technique, Graham technique, and breakdance and blend the three together. I've seen parkour incorporated into contemporary dance and much more. So there are many different films out there on contemporary dance. There are documentaries as well, but these are all just some classic films. Some of them involve other dance forms, not just contemporary, but I think it's also good to remember that in the contemporary dance industry nowadays, there's a lot of fusion going on. So it's common to see other dance forms incorporated. Moving on to some commonly known contemporary dance artists: Akram Khan, Akash Odera, Hal Abraham, Paul Taylor, Nacho Duarte, Finn Walker, Crystal Pite, William Forsythe, and much more. And these dance artists are more current and recent artists in the current climate. So we've explored artists, pioneers from many, many years ago, hundreds and hundreds of years ago, but these are the more recent ones. I think Akram Khan and Akash Odera and Finn Walker and William Forsythe, I would say those four are probably the most popular. Contemporary dance companies include Motion House, Phoenix Dance Company, Two-Faced Dance Company, James Wilton Dance Company, Alvin Ailey American Dance Theatre, and Canduco. My contemporary company experience. So I successfully passed an audition for Curve Young Dance Company, or CYDC, which is at Curve Theatre. I was placed in the most advanced of 2 separate dance groups that this involved.
multiple performance opportunities such as performing in Mass Movement, an annual competitive dance event at Curve Theatre. I performed in Mass Movement 4 times under CYDC and twice under my HND, which was a High National Diploma in Dance. We had regular technique classes that focus on anatomy, use of breath, yoga, Pilates, strengthening exercises, swing exercise, travelling across the floor, weight-bearing floor work, and much more. Most of our technique classes were contemporary based, but sometimes we had musical theatre, jazz, or ballet technique classes every now and then. Working with regular dance artists such as Phoenix Dance Company, Motion House, and James Wilton Dance Company. So we had a lot of guest artists attend our company. We had guest artists pretty much every other week or so, and I was in this company for 4 years, so you can imagine how many professional artists I got to work with up close and personal. So some fantastic contemporary training venues include Northern School of Contemporary Dance, Rambert, Dada at Derby University. I attended Dada at Derby University myself and did contemporary there for a solid year where I did arts award leadership and technique classes. De Montfort University, which is where I am now doing my BA. Leicester College, which I successfully passed an audition in. London Contemporary Dance School, CTA, Contemporary Training Academy. IDTA, which offers practical assessments, including in contemporary. I've done one in jazz and ballet and contemporary under that. An Institute for Contemporary Theatre in Manchester.
Thank you for viewing my presentation on the historical context of contemporary dance.